for some of the work he does a lot of work in the community. He's going to tell his own story. This story's going to take for the entire show. We're going to sit here and kind of kick it with us. He's not your ordinary bishop.
Hey.
Not your ordinary bishop. Mr. Bishop Donnell, welcome to the Outhouse.
Oh, thank you for having me, my brother and sisters. Yes, it's good to be here. You got me up this time of night. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, it's not this big.
Oh, he didn't stay out this late usually.
Yeah, right.
Usually, back in the days, I'd just be getting started. Change.
Yeah, so what is your story, brother? Before we even get into the film, let's talk about your story, because I remember back in high school, you was the one.
Yeah.
You was the one.
Oh, what color? What color was you banging?
Red
and blue or orange?
We're going to get into it. We're going to get into all that. We're going to get into it.
Okay, well, I mean, what I'm saying was, if the world was divided in two, I had to be with the blue. My ministry now is Bangers to the Bible, Crips to Christ, and Hearts to Holiness.
That's
what I do.
right.
Yeah,
I'm just co-signing that.
Okay.
That's right. And what brought on this concept? What brought the concept up?
Well,
without getting into the film.
For the change?
Yes.
Well, the change, I was looking at life without possibility of parole. And my brother got killed. He died in my arms. And some things happened where,
Retaliation in terms of?
Well, my little nephew, which is his son, has life without possibility of parole. And my thing is, I went to my knees, asked God, if you get me out of this, I promise I'd give up. So I gave up everything all in one day. I was acquitted, and my ministry is going back out into the trenches and cleaning up what I messed up.
Oh, that's a nice testimony. That's right.
And now, how long has this been going on?
Well, this happened in 2007.
Okay.
In 2007, but ever since then, changed my whole life around. I was the president of the Chosen Few Motorcycle Club, had my own after-hours clubs, a lot of everything that was not godly. So once, like I said, I asked God, if you get me out of this one, I promise you, I give up everything. So now I don't even spit on the sidewalk. I'm done.
Wow.
Well, you follow all the rules now, huh?
I have to. I mean, and I'm not perfect.
That's
don't get
right.
me wrong. I still, I'm not as strong as Jesus. But I have changed. I have changed, dramatically.
Well, I believe that's what counts. So that's what's up. Hats off to you, sir.
Thank you. I give all the glory to God.
And I got a chance to come to St. Elmo. Yeah. When you was over there, you had you began the culinary.
Yeah, St. Elmo Village. That's back where I grew up in what they call the schoolyard crib area. And in our days, back in the early '80s, you had to. The only way you could be from that town, that area, because we didn't call them gangs back in the days. Back in our days, we was just, that was our street, that was our family. That's what we loved, that's what we did. We played football against other streets. But going to St. Elmo's Village, to even be from that area, you had to meet up there on a Friday night, get jumped in, and then go to the skate rink. But now at St. Elmo's Village, giving our respect to Miss Pat and Roderick Sykes, they started in 1968 in that area where it's a black heritage, and they want us in the area who has a head on our shoulders where we can actually help our community by keeping their vision, and their vision was to help our young kids in that area.
Wow.
So,
go ahead.
We have Joy there now. Well, I do. I'm licensed as a gang intervention prevention specialist through Cal State LA now. So we bring our youngsters there and teach them basic life skills, how to fill out resumes on the computer, how they can, get off drugs, how we give them jobs after them coming out of the prison system. And then we have Joy there now with the culinary arts program.
That's plugger company.
What up, Joy?
I enjoy catering.
Love Joy.
Yes.
I enjoy catering.
Every Friday night.
Shout out to her.
Yes.
And go ahead, finish up.
Well, I got a lot to say. I can answer. This is what I do. Serve conversation and time. I can talk about it.
We talk.
But let's go back to how you and I met. Granada High School, Granada Hills High School.
This dude used to. Okay, let me tell you.
Oh, you was bust there then.
we was right. Yeah, we
You was one of them little bad kids they bust over the hill.
No. Let me. That's a quick story. That's funny. My mother told me she was gonna bust me out to the valley because she was gonna keep me away from the gangs and
exactly.
drugs.
And I got Mr. Gangbanger got on the bus with you. Like, hey,
I was on the special bus. I was on the bread box bus.
Right. No, but let me tell you though. He used to have the back seat to himself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was a boss.
Nobody wanted to sit next to him. And I remember our first encounter was because
I would have liked it him.
Everyone right
I'd have been in the front like, hey.
Right. It was like used to be 3. Then it used to be like 3 to a seat.
Yeah.
Right.
And he used to sit in the back. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, man? This one I'm gonna get on the bus before him. I'm gonna get on the bus before him, and then we're gonna see how this work out. And let me tell you how he did it. He sat there and he just did this.
Like, you know better.
Right? No, he didn't look at me. He didn't look at me. He waited till the whole bus got filled up. Then he's like, all right, man, you can go and get your seat now, man.
Well, you know,
I let you work it up for me for a while. You're welcome.
Well, you know, in them days too, you know, I mean, I had a lot of backup, you know, in them days too. It was more like, you know, my friends, my brothers and them used to come and pick me up in lowriders and stuff like that, way out in the valley. And at Granada Hills High School too, you know, I never, you know, I ended up going to jail then. I got caught a case, assault with a deadly weapon on the bus where I burned the guy with the hot crinoline. But
Mr. Winfield?
Whoa.
Mr. Woolrich.
Mr. Officer Ray.
Officer Ray.
Officer Ray.
He looked like Bob's big boy.
Right.
He looked just like Bob's big boy. Right.
Yeah, they came all the way from Devon South.
He had some jets.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
but I mean, it was just, you know, I thought it was innocent. You know, I really wasn't trying to hurt the kid. He was just sitting in front of me. But it was just stupid stuff, you know, being a youngster man and being a product of my environment. That's just, you know, that's just what I was about back then. I wasn't thinking. But, you know, I was part of a family, you know, that was my family. So, I mean, you know, my thing was if wherever I'm going to go, I'm going to do it to the fullest. So, I mean, with you and you know, you was a cool dude.
But I was just a funny guy. Yeah, I was just and I wouldn't worry about all that gang stuff because everybody had brothers banging. So I wasn't tripping. And plus, my sister threw down. So, you know, I wasn't even, and she's still ready to throw down. So I'm like, my sister. Yeah, everybody knows.
Everybody fights but me.
Right, everybody. Right.
I don't have to fight. I just have to be funny.
Right. That's what my mouth came. That's what my mouth came from because my sister knew how to throw them.
Don't make me get my sister.
I wasn't. Our whole gang wasn't even troublemakers. We were just athletes and funny guys. And so, you know, it was. So our conflict with him wasn't really it wasn't that much, but we saw a lot that when we saw all the fights.
You probably instigated a couple.
I probably did. I probably did.
I know you're kind.
And before we go into our mix, I want to talk about the driving program you got going. Let's get into that.
Now, what we do now, you know, they took driver's education out of the LS Unified School District.
And music.
So really? I didn't know that.
They took it out of LA USD. So I'm now the program director of Detours West. And we got that grant where we can, it's called Project Drive, where we can actually teach the youth between 17 and 24 now, where we teach them driver's education and we actually pay for them to take their test, which is give them a check and certification, $36 afterwards. So we can have 10 into a class, and we get sponsors. One of our sponsors is Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is a
Yeah.
The baseball Pete Carroll.
He helped us get started with as licensed as gang intervention prevention specialist. So that's what we do at St. Elmo's Village. Yeah. Pete Carroll is cool. He came down to our community. He talked to some brother, Bo Taylor. Bo Taylor was one of our. Bo Taylor was one of the matriarchs of our community, and him, Jim Brown, and Pete Carroll, seen what we did for the 1992 riots. 1992 riots, every gang in Southern California came together, not just at the riots, but also at Tookie Williams' funeral. And when we met up at Queen Anne Park and seen that everybody can get along with no fights between the black sets over there, ever since then, we started doing the gang intervention, and there's been no killings between the 4 gangs that was over there, which were the Playboys, the Marvins, Mansfields, and the Schoolyards. But back in the early 80s, and before April 29th, 1992, it was killings all day, every day. But when that happened and we came together, Pete Carroll, Jim Brown, seen that we can get along, came together, put some money in our community, then we got licensed to do it from there on.
That's right. And Bankhead, we get ready to go to a mix. We come back, we got 80s do's and don'ts. We get ready to change. We get ready to get funny now. I know we got a little sentimental and everything, but we get ready to turn it up. As the bishop does have a sense of humor.
Yes, you do.
And we're going to tell a story that only 3 people know. Me, my best friend, and you. You probably don't even know this story, but I got a story about how we used to come off the bus and go to Jack in the Box.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a really funny story. He don't even know what I'm about to say, but Bankhead, hook it up.